I now deliver these implements into your hands as a memento of this symbolic, significant, consequential, and inspirational event. I presented to you these upstairs, and you lent it to me to be used, and I present it to you. In addition to it, this trowel, it is an exact replica of the George Washington trowel used to lay the cornerstone in the Capitol, and I present it to you as well. Symbolic, as it entrusts the people who work at this esteemed institution with a charge to promote prosperity, happiness, and peace among mankind. Significant, as it connects through time this important structure to that of the United States Capitol, whose cornerstone was laid Masonically in a similar fashion by President and Freemason George Washington on September 18, 1783. The presence here today of the gavel used by George Washington to conduct the ceremony almost 229 years ago, which was made available to us by the Brethren of Potomac Lodge number 5, the custodian of this historic artifact is a testimonial of the historical significance of this event. Consequential, as it honors the Smithsonian, this incredible institution, willed by our late brother, Freemason James Smithson, and dedicated to the diffusion of knowledge among humans. Freemasonry teaches that liberty cannot be truly achieved without enlightenment knowledge. Our forefathers, many of whom were Freemasons, gifted us with a Bill of Rights that safeguards freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, and the freedom to petition the government for redress of grievance. But they also gifted us with a system of governance wherein we, the people, not in the government, are at its core, which means that we, the people, can use those freedoms to either build or destroy, cause beauty or ugliness, spread the cement of brotherly love, or scatter the seeds of hatred. We therefore, as citizens builders whose aim is to advance our human condition, need to also equip ourselves with the freedom from ignorance, freedom from extremism, freedom from tyranny, freedom from hate, and freedom from fear. The freedom from can only be realized through the pursuit of enlightenment knowledge. Thus, how consequential is the Smithsonian's mission to our country and humanity at large. Inspirational, as on this national month envisioned by our late brother Freemasons Pierre Lefan and Benjamin Benneker. The Smithsonian stands between the U.S. Capitol, a temple of liberty, and the sovereignty of the people, and the Lincoln Memorial, a temple of democracy. This is to signify that with the aid of enlightened knowledge and the blessings of providence, we can exercise our freedoms wisely to secure a government of we the people, by we the people, and for we the people. What an extraordinary and important mission. And please join me in welcoming the Secretary of the Smithsonian, the Honorable Lonnie Brunch.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon and welcome. First of all, let me say as a historian, how cool it is to actually see George Washington's gavel. That is pretty amazing, so I'm very excited about that. But I am honored to be here as the 14th Secretary of the Smithsonian. Today, as we recreate that amazing day in 1847, when our first Secretary, Joseph Henry, observed the laying of the cornerstone of the Smithsonian Institution Building, which we now call the Castle. It is apt that his statue watches over the proceedings today. Henry began a tradition of excellence that 13 other secretaries have built upon. Excellence that has upheld the American vision of knowledge and inspiration, and excellence that has expanded and evolved as the needs of Americans have evolved. What amazes me is that moment in 1847, that's the moment that the Smithsonian became real, became concrete. It really was something that allowed us to build on the traditions. Just look around you. The Natural History Museum, the American History Building, and a building I kind of like down at the other end, the National Museum of African American History and Culture, and the Hirshhorn and others. And what you realize is that vision stems from that moment. That 13 other secretaries have built on that and said, this is a place not just for the increase and diffusion of knowledge, but it's a place to make America better, to give America a reservoir to dip into, to understand itself by looking at culture, art, history. In some ways, we gather today to remember the role that the Castle, and by extension the Smithsonian, has played in our community, in our city, in our nation. Think about it. For 175 years, the Smithsonian has been on this now National Mall. And when this medieval revival red sandstone building, this building is really an opportunity that initially seemed out of place. But now, after 175 years, it really is the place that cements the Smithsonian as a site of learning and a site of possibilities yet to be. In some ways, this building now symbolizes that the Smithsonian will always have a place in the heart of America. So today, we should also remember that so many buildings in Washington, like so many in America, were built by immigrants, by African Americans enslaved and free, by people whose names will never be in the history book, but on whose shoulders we all stand. It's unclear the exact role that enslaved people played in the creation of the castle. But what's clear is that Washington, D.C. and our nation would look markedly different today if it was not for the efforts of those free and enslaved laborers. And this day should remind us all that history should also be acknowledged. That we should remember that as we celebrate this great moment and the wonders of the Smithsonian, we should also remember that the Smithsonian reflects both the wonders and the realities of American life. In some ways, not all who built these amazing landmarks, not all who worked in these buildings, benefited from the promise of America. So today, 175 years after the cornerstone for the nation's Smithsonian Institution was laid, we share a commitment to educate, to inspire, to make a country better. We share a commitment to the American people and the citizens of the world to use this moment not just to remember and revel in our past,